Amelia Bedelia's First Apple Pie by Herman Parish and Lynn Averill. Thanks, Grandma. You're the apple of my eye. Amelia Bedelia was visiting her grandparents. It was a glorious autumn afternoon, the perfect day to rake leaves into piles and run all around the yard. Fall is in the air, said Granddad. Granddad and Amelia Bedelia looked up. So are the birds, said Amelia Bedelia. V-W, what are they trying to spell? Just then, Amelia Bedelia's grandmother came outside. Quick, said Granddad, look busy. But it was too late. Hey, lazy bones, Grandma said jokingly. If you're just going to stand around, I've got a job for you. Grandpa's apple pie was Amelia Bedelia's favorite. Hooray, she yelled. Race you to the car. She started to run but tripped over a branch and landed right in the pile of leaves. Whoosh! How was your trip? Asked Granddad as he helped her up. Fun, she said. Fall is in the air and on the ground, too. Granddad smiled and said, watch your step. Amelia Bedelia tried to watch her steps, but it made her dizzy to look down at her feet the whole time. Amelia Bedelia and Granddad were already in the car when Grandma yelled out, be sure to pick up Granny Smith. Who's Granny Smith? Is she helping us make the pie? Amelia Bedelia asked. You bet, Granddad said. We couldn't do it without her. Amelia Bedelia and Granddad drove out into the country. Your supermarket is far away, said Amelia Bedelia. We aren't going to the supermarket, said Granddad. We'll get our apples from the farmer's market. What? Asked Amelia Bedelia. Do we need to buy a farmer? No, said Granddad, laughing. Their apples are much fresher. The timer. Apples are good for me, right? Asked Amelia Bedelia. Oh, yes, said Granddad. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. They're good for your teeth, too. Folks call them nature's toothbrush. Hey, Granddad, said Amelia Bedelia. If I eat an apple a day, I won't have to go to the doctor or dentist again. Granddad smiled. I wish it was that way, Pumpkin, he said. Granddad picked up a bright green apple, polished it on his jacket, and tossed it to Amelia Bedelia. Nice catch, he said. Meet Granny Smith. Amelia Bedelia took a loud, crunchy bite. Granny is yummy, she said. Second one. When they got home, Grandma went right to work, coring and peeling the apples. Amelia Bedelia measured the peels to see which one was the longest. Grandma cut each apple into 2 pieces, then into 4 pieces, then into 8 pieces. Finally, she sprinkled sugar and cinnamon on the slices. Next, Grandma pulled out all of her pie pans, hunting for just the right one. Amelia Bedelia found a tiny pan. Is this a toy? She asked. No, said Grandma, that's a real pie pan. It's just really small. And here is the one I want. Now please get me a little flour, Sugar Plum. At last, said Grandma, we're ready to put this pie together. And that's exactly what Grandma and Amelia Bedelia did. Then Grandma popped the pie into the oven, set the timer, and started to clean up the kitchen. That's when Amelia Bedelia had an idea. She took the leftover dough and rolled it out into 2 small circles. She put one in the little pie pan, filled it with the extra apples, and plopped the other circle on top. Then she crimped all the edges around. A smidgen of dough was left, and she made a little flower, a tiny daisy to decorate the top. Your mom and dad will be here soon, said Grandma. Then we'll have a pie party. Yippee, said Amelia Bedelia. Granddad heard the commotion and came into the kitchen. "What are we celebrating?" he said. "Honey," said Grandma, "Amelia Bedelia made her first apple pie." After Grandma took her pie out of the oven, Amelia Bedelia carefully and secretly slid hers in. I'm going to set this outside to cool," said Grandma. It was time to get ready for the party. Grandma hummed as she set the table. Soon Granddad was whistling the same tune. Outside, the birds were chirping and tweeting and singing like mad. "Listen," said Amelia Bedelia, "it sounds like the birds are having a party too." "My pie!" exclaimed Grandma. They all ran outside. The pie was covered with birds. "Scram!" hollered Grandma. "Shoo, shoo! Chirp, chirp, chirp!" Amelia Bedelia took off her shoe and handed it to Grandma, but it was too